lessons, and it's also a huge topic that is in Algebra 2, so you'll use it greatly next year. All right, so the first thing that I want you to think of, and you're getting your own paper today. I don't have notes for you. You're going to take notes with me, and we're going to work on this together. All right, so the first thing I want you to think about is when you were first thinking about factors in grade school or first taught it about factors. If you looked at the number 24 and you wanted to find a factor of 24, well, knowing one of the factors of 24, like if you said to me, oh, I know that 24 is divisible by 8, and that's going to give me a 3. So we can say that factors are 8 times 3. Now, that's not the only way to make a 24. There's different ways to make a 24. We could do 12 times 2. We could do 24 times 1. How about 6 times 4? Different ways that we can multiply to make the number 24. And by the way, knowing your multiplication facts, just these simple multiplication facts, will make the job that we're going to do today easier, because as you get to Algebra 1, we leave some simplicity behind us and we get to work with polynomials. And so we're going to talk about factoring out the GCF on polynomials today. And GCF is your greatest common factor. So maybe in elementary school, middle school, when you first were introduced to GCF, they start you off with 2 different numbers. Let's say they gave you, 49 and a 7. And they're like, okay, what is the GCF? Well, that's pretty easy, because the biggest number, right, the biggest number that they have in common that divides into both of them is the 7. Or maybe we were given 100 and how about, I'm going to do a 25. Sorry, a 25. Right? What's the biggest number that goes into both of those? Hopefully you're telling me 25, right? I'll give you another one. I keep doing that. How about if I give you a 18 and 27? What's the GCF of 18 and 27? Hopefully you're saying 9, right? 9 is the largest number that divides into both of those. Now, when you hit algebra, they put some variables in there. So maybe I change this a little bit and I say 6x to the third and 48x. All right, so now I have a variable in there. So the 6 and the 48, what do they have in common? Well, hopefully you're saying 6. That's the biggest number that they both have in common. And then when you look at the variable, it's going to be your smallest variable that they have in common. So this is x to the first power is what they have in common, and we just write it as x. So we're going to look at just looking at some different polynomials and finding the greatest common factor of those. So let me give you a couple. We're going to factor with the GCF. And when you are factoring anything that you ever factor, you always want to start with the greatest common factor, because that's going to break things down for you. That's going to make your numbers smaller and make them easier to work with. Let's label this. We'll call this number 1. I've got 6x squared plus 12x. So when you're factoring, this is a binomial because it's two different monomials together. But look at the numbers, 6 and 12. They're both divisible by 6. And then we have an x squared and nothing. So we're not going to take out any variable. But when I divide 6 by itself, I get an x squared. And then, because it's just 1 x squared, right? And then the 6 goes into 12 2 times. And the great thing about factoring is that you can check your answers, right? So if I want to check this, we can do 6 times x squared, which is 6x squared, and 6 times 2, right? So I want you to think factoring is breaking down its division, basically. And then when you check it, you're going backwards. And if you remember the distributive property, right? So when we factor, it's the reverse of the distributive property, and then we're checking it with the distributive property. Let's try a couple more. I'm going to have you try this one. Number 2, 4x to the 4th plus 24x to the 3rd. All right, so you should have started off by looking at the 4 and the 24. Well, they are both divisible by the 4. And then you have x to the 4th and x to the 3rd. So you're going to take the smallest power of x. X to the 3rd can come out. And that's it. So what's left over? Well, you have 1x here, because x to the 3rd times that x will make the x to the 4th there. 4 times 24 is a 6. Now, let's check it and see if we did that right. So I have 4x to the 3rd times x is 4x to the 4th. And 4 times 6 is the 24. And then we have the x to the 3rd. So that's perfect. Now, as far as checking goes, if you were taking Algebra 1 with me, I would totally require a checking of all your work. Since we're in geometry, that is something that I expect you to be mature enough to know is valuable for you to do. And so, yes, whether you're writing out the check or maybe your skills are good enough where you can just do the distributive property in your head, you should be checking this. All right, one last problem before we move into factoring. 16m to the 3rd minus 8m squared plus 48m minus 12. All right, 16, 8, 48, and 12. They are all divisible by 4. So we can factor out the 4. Now the 12 does not have an m. So since the 12 doesn't have an m, all 4 terms don't have an m in common. So you cannot take out the variable. You're just going to take out the 4 for this one. All right, so you think about it. 4 times 4 is 16. So it's 4m to the 3rd. 4 times 2, now it's a negative 8. So this is going to be a negative 2m squared. 4 times 12 is 48. And 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Hopefully you got that and you're able to check that. And you notice that I'm thinking about it, kind of checking it as I go. All right. So you're going to find homework that has to do with GCF on iExcel. So you're going to go to iExcel and work on that. I've also posted it on my CCA. Now we're going to look at factoring a trinomial. So the first thing you have to know is we're going to work with trinomials. All of your trinomials are going to be in this form. Ax squared plus bx plus c. And that's pretty significant. We're sticking with trinomials for what we're going to do. Can you extend this and factor other polynomials? Yes, and you will get a lot more of that in Algebra 2. But if you get really good at this, it'll make what you have to do in the future a lot better. So do your best on these. You're going to see this coming up in our curriculum for geometry. So the next work that we do has factoring trinomials in it. So the first thing I'm going to start with is the idea of multiplying a binomial. You need to understand how to multiply before you can pull it out, pull it apart, and factor it. So we're going to start with something simple. X plus 2 times x plus 3. Now you are supposed to be able to multiply that. So I'm going to give you a moment to try it on your own. All right, now hopefully you came up with x squared plus 5x plus 6. And let's see how we got that. You're going to start with this first term, and you're going to multiply the other first term. This is the distributive property, so x times x is x squared. And then you're going to take that x and multiply it by the 3. And then you're going to distributive property the 2. So we're going to do 2 times x. And then the last thing we do is I need a different color. The 2 times the 3 gives you the 6. So I did this in different colors on purpose because understanding where these terms come from is going to help you factor. When you're looking at this, you guys know that I'm not totally finished because you notice that the two values in the middle, the 3x and the 2x, those are like terms, and they combine to create the 5x. So your final answer is x squared plus 5x plus 6. All right, now it's really important for you to understand this process because what we're going to do is we're going to start with the trinomial and we're going to march it backwards, and our answer is going to be these two factors. And so I'm going to give you a precise way to do this. There's many different ways that you can factor. Yes, many different ways work. The way I'm teaching you is going to help you understand it. It's going to help you check it. And it's going to help you move forward and be faster in the future, which will be really, really super beneficial as you move into Algebra 2. So let's just look at this one, x squared plus 5x plus 6. If I were given this problem to factor this, I want to show you what I would do in the process moving forward. So if I asked you to factor this trinomial, now, here's the thing. You already know the answer. You know the answer is going to turn out to this. But what I'm going to have you do is look for GCF. Is there GCF? Do the three terms have anything in common? No. So at that point, we're going to put the parentheses down. All right, now what you have to remember is that this first term, right, this first term came from these first terms. And with an x squared, there's only one way to break it down. It's going to be x times s, but it goes in the first two places. All right, so now you did the first term. I'm going to have you go to the last term. The last term is a 6, and I want you to think of the factors of a 6. There's a couple of different ways. You could do 6 times 1 or 2 times 3. Now, in this problem, this is an addition sign, and this is something we're going to kind of work on a little bit. But if this is an addition sign, that means that we are going to combine these. Sometimes with addition and sometimes they're both going to be negative, but they're going to go together to make a bigger value because this is addition. So when you look at the middle term being a 5, when you add the 6 and 1, you get a 7. When you add the 2 and 3, you get the 5. So these are the ones that we're going to work with, the 2 and the 3. Now having them both be plus is super easy because that's what your values are going to be here is both addition. All right, then here is something that you should know to do from your teacher last year is check this. How do you check it? You multiply it back out. Now I'm not going to check this one because we already multiplied it up at the top. We know this works, but let's move forward and do some more together. I'm going to walk you. Our directions are going to be factor completely. Always, that's what we're going to be striving for is factor completely. So here's the first one. P squared plus 9p plus 14. I'm going to walk you through this one again because we don't know the answer to this one. So we're going to look at this trinomial and we're going to decide, does it have a GCF? Nope. So we're going to move forward and put down our parentheses. We're going to go to the first term, p squared. So it's p times p. We're going to go to the last term and we're going to look at the factors. We've got 14 times 1 and 2 times 7. Now this is addition. So we're going to put these together to make them big, right? 4 plus 1 is 15. That's no good. 2 plus 7 makes 9. Cha-ching! There you go. So we're going to use the 2 and the 7. Now because it's a plus 9, these are going to both be addition. Now this is your answer. Let's check it. See how much faster that went? And the more you work at this, the faster you will get. And then algebra 2 should be a nice thing to do, not horrible. If you don't know how to do so, it can be horrible. So we've got p times p squared, p times 7p, 2 times p, and 2 times 7. Do you see it working? Doesn't this give me the 9p I was looking for? Okay, so checking it is super awesome. You try this next one on your own. Number 2, x squared plus 13x plus 30. Okay, so let's take a look at this. We have no GCF, so we're going to go for the double parentheses, x times x. Now when you look at the 30, you can think 30 times 1, 3 times 10, or 5 times 6. And again, it's both positive, right? This is a positive 30. This makes 31, no good. 3 times 10 makes 13, doesn't it? Now, what's 5 and 6 make? 11. No good. All righty, so put the 3 and the 10 in, plus plus, and you can check it. All right, I'm not going to make this video longer by checking everything, but you should be checking these. All righty. Number 3 is going to be a little different, but I don't want you to freak out. So we've got x squared minus 11x plus 18. All right, so notice that the signs changed a little bit. Don't let that freak you out. We've got a negative here. Let me show you how it comes into play. No GCF, double parentheses. First term, x times x. Last term, 18 times 1, 2 times 9, 3 times 6. Okay, so now because this is a plus sign, we're putting these together to make them bigger. So 18 and 1 makes 19. 2 plus 9 is 11. Woohoo! 3 and 6 is 9. So here's the thing. When you put the 2 and the 9 in, you are trying to create that negative 11. So you're going to actually make them both negative. And this is the correct answer because negative 2 times negative 9 is 18. Let's check this together so you can see it working. And that's why you check. You check so you can see the process working. The more you see it working, the better you get at this over and over and over. X times x is x squared. X times negative 9 is negative 9x. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times negative 9 is a positive 18. And you can see the negative 9 and the negative 2 make the negative 11x in the middle. Perfect. There we go. You try this one on your own. Number 4, x squared minus 2x plus 35. Alrighty, hopefully you have written down x minus 7 times x plus 5, or you could reverse it. It's okay if you wrote x plus 5 times x minus 7. It's the same thing. So no GCF, double parentheses. X squared is x times x. 35. We could do 1 times 35 or 5 times 7. Now, this is, oops, Mrs. McGuire. I made up a bad problem, didn't I? I sure did. I'm going to tell you, I'm glad I did this because you notice that when I put these together, what this is, this makes a 36, right? And this makes a 12. So this is what we call unfactorable. Right? Or another word that you might be more familiar with is prime. Right? The only thing that is a factor of this is 1. So you guys know, like the number is 3. The only factors of 3 are 1 and 3. So the only factors of this trinomial are 1 and the trinomial. So we call it prime. You might run into some of these. It's okay. In your geometry, I'll give you things that factor, but on the IXL, you might find things that don't factor. All right, I got another one for us. You ready? Number 5 x squared minus 2x minus 15. Hopefully I did a better job with this one. Let's check this out. Now you notice the signs have changed. I changed the signs on you, but the system is still the same. Look for the GCF. No GCF yet. Double parentheses. All right. X squared in the front. X times X. 15 in the back. We could do 1 times 15 or 5 times 3. Now, do you notice this is negative? A negative 15? That means over here you're going to subtract these. If this number is negative, you subtract these. So if you do 1 minus 15, you get a 14. If you do 5 minus 3, you get a 2. That's what you're looking at, is a 2. All right, so put the 5 and the 3 in. Now, how do I get it to be a negative 2? Well, negative means that these signs are going to be different because a negative times a positive gives you a negative value. So the one that you want to be negative is the biggest one. So 5 is the biggest one, make that negative and the 3 positive. And let's go ahead and check this out. Even that's your answer. So let's check it. X times X is X squared. X times 3 is a positive 3X. Negative 5 times X is a negative 5X. And negative 5 times 3 is a negative 15. Look at these middle terms. Positive 3X and a negative 5X give you the negative 2X. Now I'm telling you, trust me on this, stick with this. The more that you do, we're almost finished here. I'm going to give you one just like that to try on your own. So number 6. Number 6 is R, what did I just give you? R squared plus 4R minus 32. Go ahead and try factoring that on your own. All right, so hopefully you have R plus 8 times R negative 4. When you look at this one, no GCF, so we're going to do the double parentheses. We have R times R, now 32. A couple of different ways you can make a 32. 32 times 1, 16 times 2, or 8 times 4. Now I told you this is negative, so we subtract these. This does not make a 4. This does not make a 4. There you go. That 8 minus 4 is 4. So we're going to put the 8 and the 4 in. And then how you know which one to make what sign, right? Because it's a negative. These are going to be 2 different signs in here. Look for the sign here. Whatever is in middle term, that goes to the biggest number. 8 is the biggest. It gets the positive. This one gets the negative. Let's check it out and see what it looks like. R times R times negative 4, 8 times R, and 8 times negative 4. Okay, check out these middle terms, my friends. Negative 4R and positive 8R is a positive 4R. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Love it. All right, 2 more. You're almost there, my dears. Number 7, 3y squared plus 12y minus 63. Now you're thinking, oh my gosh, look at those numbers, Mrs. McGuire. First question, GCF. Yes, there's a GCF. So what's the GCF on this problem? Hope you said a 3. Yes, we're going to factor out that 3 first. So 3y squared is now going to be y squared plus 4y minus 21. All right, so GCF is super brilliant because look at our trinomial. The numbers are so much smaller now. It's so much nicer. We just have plain old y squared, 1y squared. So now the 3 that you factored out does not disappear. Do not neglect to write that in part of your answer. Double parentheses, and you are working on the trinomial that's left over. So you've got y squared, y times y, 21 at the end. You can do 21 times 1 or 7 times 3. Now it's a negative 21. So we need to subtract. And look at this. That's not going to work. 7 minus 3 is 4. There's the magic. So we're going to put the 7 and the 3 down. It's a positive 4. I need the bigger number to be positive. Right, so let's check one of these and see how we would do that. To check this one, now this is multiplication. You're multiplying 3 times y plus 7 times y minus 3. You can really do whatever order you want when you multiply, but it's nicer to go backwards in the reverse order that you came. So we're going to go ahead and just do these two first. So that's going to mean the 3 is still going to be on the outside. So we'll have y times y times negative 3, 7 times y, and 7 times negative 3. Now let's combine those like terms. And you can see the trinomial here that we had factored up there. That's a good sign. Now we're going to go ahead and just distribute the 3 back through. So we get 3y squared plus 12y minus 63. Ta-da! Oops, you can't see that. Ta-da! There you go. Okay, last problem. I'm going to let you try this one on your own. Hopefully this goes down super well because it's your last one, number 8. 2w squared minus 10w minus 72. All right, hopefully you took the 2 out first. So we'll factor out the 2, and that will leave us with w squared minus 5w minus 36. All right, let's get to work on that trinomial. So we've got the 2, the double parentheses, w times w. Now 36, there's a lot of different ways to make a 36. We could do 36 times 1. We can do 6 times 6. We can do 9 times 4, 12 times 3. We have a negative here, which means we're subtracting these. So we're trying to make a 5. 36 minus 1 doesn't work. 6 minus 6 doesn't work. 9 minus 4 makes a 5. 12 minus 3, okay. So we're going to put the 9 and the 4 in. And then this is a negative 5. So I'm going to go to my 9 because it's the bigger number in my factors and make it negative. And the 4 will be positive. Did you get that one? Are you feeling better about your factoring skills? I hope so, because I want to see you be successful. Let me check this with you real quick. All right, so the 2 is going to stay on the outside. I have w squared plus 4w minus 9w minus 36. Get faster as these go on, right? So we've got w squared minus 5w minus 36, which is 2w squared minus 10w minus 72. There you go. All right, practice, practice, practice. Be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself. God bless you guys. Have a great day.